All right, guys. Hope you had a good weekend. Here we are working on volume of pyramids and cones. Now, this is going to be very similar to what we did on Thursday with prisms and cones. The formulas are almost the same. Now, if we were in class, I would do this kind of experiment with you guys. It's kind of interesting. And what I want you to imagine that I built a box around a pyramid so that or a prism, I should say, around a pyramid so that its height and its base were exactly the same. The question would be, how many of those pyramids could you fit inside of that prism? And we usually have kind of a fun game with this. It's a shame I didn't get to teach this lesson because we kind of do kind of a fun little experiment with it with water and shapes. And most guys in the class usually guess two. Most guys in the class usually say, oh, you could chop up two pyramids and fit it in there. But really, guys, in reality, you can actually fit three. So when you're talking about finding the volume of a pyramid, well, if the volume of a prism was just the area of the polygon base times the height, and three of those could fit into a prism, then the volume of a pyramid would simply be 1/3 times the base times height. And some people write it like this: base times height over 3. Those are equivalent functions. I don't really care which formula you use. I usually use this first one just because it's easier to kind of write out. So I'm looking at this next polygon here. And so, all right, what is the volume of a square pyramid with base edges 40 and slant height 25? Okay, so volume is going to equal 1/3 the area of the base. Well, it says it's a square, and that's 40. So a square base would be 40 times 40, right? So that's the base. And now I need the height. I need the height here. Well, the height of this pyramid, it is not 25. 25 is the slant height. So we have to go through and we got to do the Pythagorean theorem over here. This is 25. This is h. Now be careful. If the edge is 40, what's this length here? Not 40, but 20. So I'll say 20 squared plus h squared equals 25 squared. Now you can work out that math, guys. You can work out that math and get h squared equals 225. Or you could notice this is one of those Pythagorean triples, right? A 3, 4, 5 triangle, right? This is 4 times 5. This is 5 times 5. So this would be 3 times 5. Or this is a height of 15. Now, I will tell you, just kind of having worked these examples out in the past, that fraction, that 1/3, a lot of times will kind of throw guys off. So what I sometimes suggest is just multiply these values first, and then just divide your answer by 3. When you do that for this particular problem, you'll get... well, it's 40 times 3 would be, or 15 would be 24,000. And divided by 3, you get 8,000 cubic feet. A lot of times, though, guys, if you have something that's divisible by 3, you can kind of notice that at the beginning and kind of work that out. Okay, now let's look at the volume of a cone. Much like the volume of a pyramid is 1/3 the volume of a prism that's the same with the same dimensions, the volume of a cone is going to be 1/3 the volume of a cylinder with the same dimensions. So volume for this is going to be 1/3 the area of the base, which we know is pi r squared, a circle, times the height. So let's look at one that's fairly straightforward. It says volume equals 1/3 times pi. The cone is 12 feet high with a radius of 14, so that would be 14 squared. And it says the height is 12. So we would just multiply all those together. And once we multiply all those together, we get 784 times pi. We'll put some units down there. 784 times pi cubic feet. And let's look at one down here without an altitude. So it gives us 10 as the slant height, and it gives us 6 as the diameter. Ooh, so it gives us a diameter too. So as I go through to write this, volume equals 1/3 times pi squared times h. I just have to find out what the radius and the height are. Well, what's the radius? Well, if the diameter is 6, the radius is 3. Got it. What's the height? Well, that's where we have a little bit of trouble. So that's 3 and that's 10. Now I've got a triangle here. I got to use Pythagorean theorem. That's 3. The slant height is 10. I need to find the actual height. And so I got to do the Pythagorean theorem. 3 squared plus h squared equals 10 squared. Or 9 plus h squared equals 100. Or h squared equals 91. H equals the square root of 91. If you want your answer to be exact, guys, just go ahead and put the square root of 91 in there and just wait till the end to multiply everything out. So I'll go ahead and multiply this out. I'll multiply this out and I get 28.618 pi. 28.618 pi. And just because it's already in decimals, why not go ahead and multiply that by pi to get answers totally in terms of tenths. And so I get 89.907. 89.907. My units there are feet, so that would be cubic feet. Remember, guys, when you do surface area with an S, you use slant height with an S. When you do volume, you use the actual altitude or the actual height. So that's how you can kind of keep it straight mentally.